Each year, almost 7 million people visit the Ryders Glass Cone in Stourbridge. Here you will find a great mix of history that dates back to 1790. There's a 90-foot cone-shaped structure used for the production of glass. At this site there are also 10 independent creative retail businesses, a coffee shop and many demonstrations that take place on a daily basis. This site is a great example of how old and new come together. At the Glass Cone they are looking at how modern technologies can be used to enhance your visitor experience to the museum. This includes artificial intelligence, virtual reality, advanced payments using your eye or fingerprint. These are things we would really like you to consider for the future. Today you will hear from a variety of retail businesses located at the Cone.
I'm a glass artist. I need to promote what I do so that people are aware of what I might make. As a glass artist, people normally think of stained glass. I work with molten glass at 1,000 degrees, so it's slightly different. So I need to market myself quite nicely. Enquiries come in, so people ring up or email and say, oh, I'm interested, I've seen you work here, there, can you tell me how much it is? So we have to deal with a few enquiries and generate orders. And then when we get to the fun part where I get to make the work, so typically I'd start making around about 10:30 till 3:30 in the day. And it involves blowing or casting molten glass at 1,000 degrees. And I could be making anything from paperweights and small giftware up to large sculptures to go to galleries across the country or some museums around the world actually. From then, once the pieces are made, I need to oversee them being wrapped, packed, dispatched. Need to invoice, get the money for the pieces, do the accounting. So my job involves a whole heap of different roles really. So that was a piece for Rossetti Studios in Chelsea, London, and it's a huge lampshade that we made. So we've had to get a one-off mould produced so that the glass is just going to fit neatly within some metalwork. It's kind of pushing us to our absolute limits, and teamwork is a vital part because I couldn't do that alone without these guys in the background running around making it all flow smoothly. So yeah.
There is no typical day for me, unfortunately. I manage a variety of services, so I manage the museum services, but I also manage IT for planning services and the technical staff, business and finance staff, tourism and the UNESCO Geopark project. So any given day I can have meetings, but I have to deal with any issues that come up during the day. So some days I've got a plan of what I'm going to do, write reports or speak to people, and middle of the day that all changes because we've had some kind of issue in one of the services.
So I get here, turn my laptop on, check my emails and do all my sort of bookwork type of stuff first. I specialise in doing portraits of music artists, famous music artists and icons, and I started doing that as a hobby.
Well, not sure that there is what you might call a typical day, because you never really know quite what to expect. So I suppose the only things that we do typically every day are the kind of jobs like unlocking and turning things, all the lights on and all of that kind of thing, dealing with sales at the till, answering telephone calls. And again, there's a huge variety of things that you can get asked over the telephone, from where are you, how do I get there, to people wanting to come and take part in some of the workshops and activities that go on site.
A typical day for me in the job that I do as tourism officer is incredibly varied and interesting. And the truth is there's no 2 days the same. So a normal average day would be doing social media, promoting the visitor attractions across the borough through the Discover Dudley Facebook and Twitter pages. It can be liaising with advertising inquiries and booking advertising space to promote Discover Dudley, and that could be anything from placing an advert on a digital screen. I can be dealing with a visitor inquiry over the phone, so I might have a member of the public phoning up wanting for me to send them information in the post on places to visit and things to see and do. So it's a really enjoyable and varied job.
The technology that we use within the job at the moment, we have computers which have to control the temperatures on all the kit. So we've got furnaces that keep glass at 1,000 degrees centigrade. There's temperature gauges to sort out the temperatures so that we can change temperatures as and when we need to. We've got computer systems to help with the email.
The main tool for me, well, it's my laptop, is my link with my shop to the outside world to sell my art. And I do that through a platform called Etsy, and I upload my artwork images and the descriptions and the prices, and then people order them from all around the world. I've sold artwork to Australia, to Canada, America.
Well, it's not very high tech, it has to be said. So telephone, the till, and the computer really. So we do rely on being able to book all the workshops and all of that kind of thing via the computer.
So we use computers a lot for dealing with email inquiries, anything to do with maintaining databases with visitor information on. But the biggest use of technology is definitely with social media. So we do a lot of our promotion as to events that are happening across our attractions through Facebook, Twitter and the use of Instagram.
Within planning services, we are completely electronic. We don't have any paper at all now within planning, and we've been doing that for the last 10 years. Here at the museum service, there wasn't a lot of technology involved apart from the till for the shop, but we've now introduced augmented reality. So the panels that you see with the information on, if you've got a mobile phone, you download the Ryders Glasscone app, and then if you hover over the panel, it brings the panels to life. So everything I do is all about technology.
In the last 20 years, the technology's changed quite dramatically. When I first started out, the technology didn't exist whereby you could mount a computer on a kiln and program a kiln to say go up 100 degrees. So technology has made it a much more accurate, controllable process in terms of manufacture.
Technology has evolved over the last 20 years incredibly fast. So when I first started in my role 16 years ago, we didn't have social media. We didn't have digital marketing as much as we do today. So we had to rely on good old-fashioned advertising in the newspapers and in magazines.
Nowadays, somebody sees, they ring up and say, oh, I might have seen your work in a gallery in London. Can you tell me where else I can find it? Then I can quickly show them a Facebook page or an Instagram page. So have a look at this, and within seconds they can see a variety of images on a screen. And if they want to see more, we can do a virtual tour of the studio via my phone. And it's much quicker. So I guess what used to take maybe a month to organise an order, we might be able to have a conversation via Skype within half an hour. Somebody can kind of go, yep, I want that. Can you post it to me? We've now got apps for couriers. So all the couriers, we just plink in the address that we want, print off a label, stick it on a box, and a man magically appears and takes the piece down to wherever it's got to be delivered.
I am still working with my own job now as an artist with charcoal sticks. So I'm not using any technology for what I do. I'm using paper, and I use a light pencil to get my outline, and then I hit it with a charcoal. So there's no technology there, and I get a real buzz out of that.
I hope technology will change in the next 10 years because of the advances that have already been made have really made the working environment safer and easier to grow the business and move forward, promote and operate much more quickly.
I don't think it will because, as I've said, the technology, I don't think technology will change for my job because I'm using these basic materials of charcoal and paper.
Absolutely. We're already looking to the future. So AI is going to play a huge part of technology. For planning, a At the minute, if we've got a large development, you have to look at a plan, and a lot of people can't look at a plan and visualise what's going to happen. So we're looking at using AI technology to create a 3D model of what people will look at. We'll be able to put that on the internet. You'll be able to look at the buildings. You'll be able to walk through the buildings. We're doing the same in museums. At Dudley Museum, we've had a drone that does 3D scanning go around the museum. And it means for a lot of people these days, rather than physically come to site, they look on the internet and then they say, I've seen the collection for Dudley Museum.
I need to have some business skills, some basic business skills, because you can't just be an artist and be just drawing and creating your artwork if you're not creating a shop window for people to buy your art, whether it's coming to see my studio at the Red House Glascombe or finding me by searching my artwork online, because you need to get people to buy your stuff to be able to pay you rent for your premises and for all your materials. So it's important to keep an eye on sales and making sure that your sales are going okay.
I did a degree at the University of Wolverhampton, and I think anybody who's gone through some formal training to become a glass artist has spent 3 years nurturing their skills, and these skills are how to develop concepts, work through problem solving, illustrations, communicate drawings to clients. And so I personally believe that if you do a degree within the arts, it will lead you to a better success in the future, because you'll have learnt some key skills to help you succeed once you leave.
The skills that I need for my job, both hard skills and soft skills, you need to be a people person, because working in tourism is very people orientated. So when you're working at a visitor attraction, you're going to come into contact with members of the public all the time. When you're working on a tourism stand promoting the area, you've got to be able to engage with people and talk to people on all levels with all abilities.
Essentially, you do need to be a people person and enjoy dealing with people, talking to people.
You need to be technologically proficient at what you're doing, because you're using technology so much. So you're using applications on the phone, you're using applications on the iPad to promote the area, as we've mentioned.
I've actually got a master's degree, which I got 20 years ago. But really, for my job, you need to be a people person. You need to have really good communication and project management skills, all day on problem solving, and I'm here to resolve issues, whether that be for site, for buildings, for people, for projects. So you've got to be able to speak to any type of person. You've also got to be a very hands-on person to work in a museum.
What do I get from my job? I certainly work quite hard at my job, quite a lot of hours, and the pay, I wouldn't say that the pay is extraordinary, but I love what I do.
I get a lot of job satisfaction, and I like to see when I'm doing my job, what I like to see is that there's an end result.
I get a lot out of my job. I feel very, very lucky that my job is my passion and my hobby. So when I'm creating a new piece of art, I'm pouring my heart out into it, and it's such a wonderful experience. And to see that created,
I get to meet some really, really interesting people. I get to do things that other people wouldn't. I've been in the crypt at the local church. I've been in the basement of Himley Hall. I get to deal with archaeological finds, fine art paintings, handle thousands and thousands of pounds worth of glass some days. So for me, it's an absolute privilege to do the job I do, and I feel very lucky and very fortunate. There aren't many people that have got to have such an experience while working as I have.
I don't think a robot would be able to use its imagination to come up with new dynamic concepts yet.
My job could be replaced by a robot. In as much as you've got a robot there who would say hello and do all the basics for visitors as they came through the door. but how do you account for all the years of knowledge that I've got stored away in my brain?
Human beings are far more flexible and they have many ways in which they can deal with problems and issues that a robot may not be able to do. So I think there's certain aspects of my job that could possibly be replaced by a robot, but ultimately, no.
I think my job in 2030 will still be as I am doing now, with some tweaks and changes, but people, in my view, people will always want to buy a handcrafted piece of art.
I would like to say I will never be replaced by a robot. I think there's some aspects of the job that even with artificial intelligence and machine learning, a robot would never be able to fulfil. And I think a robot might have difficulty travelling between the different locations I work at. So I would probably say no, I don't think. I think some aspects of the job will be automated more, but I don't think I'll ever be replaced by a robot. Well, hopefully not for the next 20 years until I retire.